nurturing that expectations and experience too. And we've just started recording. And before we go any further, I actually would like to formally introduce the session and to thank you, Hazel. This is just so generous of you to run this session. We really, really appreciate it, as she claims that she's not the guru in Qualtrics, but we'll say you're the resident highly experienced person related to Qualtrics. So we put out a survey asking people what are the sorts of workshops that would be really helpful for you right now that we can do through this medium of Zoom. And this was one of the ones that was really popular. And straight away I said to Sharon, let's ask Hazel if she'd be willing to run it. So thank you, that's great. And I know that you've emphasised it is a co-learning situation, and happy that we can be in this together. Hazel's a member of our Math, Science and Technology group, so I've got the great fortune to be working with her regularly as part of that group. And your specialist areas, of course, are in maths education, educational technology, and also I know that you've done some international comparative studies. So Qualtrics is a tool that you regularly use, and I know there's a lot of us who are curious about the use. Some people are more advanced than others, as you can see from the comments here that are rolling in relation to experiences and expectations. And we really appreciate again that you're willing to spend some time with us today, and perhaps there's further opportunities that people want to take this in different directions of what we might do in the future. So thank you so much, Hazel. And I'm going to hand over to you now, and we'll keep track, Sharon and I, of the questions that are coming in. People feel free to put them in the chat, but obviously Hazel's not going to respond to everything straight away.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Mandy. So, you know, so I'm really happy to see that there's such an interest in Qualtrics, because, you know, before the whole university actually got Qualtrics as a site license, our faculty actually were the first to sort of started using Qualtrics. So I remember, I don't know how many years ago in the old building, that Michael Henderson sort of had a demo with, you know, from the US, somebody demonstrating the Qualtrics. So we were evaluating different survey platforms. So since then, we found that actually Qualtrics is really useful. The license is not too expensive. I think it was like 4,000 at that time. I mean, I'm not sure about, you know, the whole university. But you need to really know that it actually is designed as in the industry, as, you know, to use for like market survey kind of platform. So it has a lot of features that are related more to like the industry, you know, enterprise, like they're doing those market surveys. But however, it is also useful for research purposes. So previously, I think Sharon has sent you the handout. So this handout is something that I've created and sort of refined along the way, and includes a lot of screenshots of the Qualtrics platform. So, which means that actually you can just use that handout to help you to, you can actually just use that handout to go through. So I've also, for those who didn't get a copy of the handout, I put it up as a shared link in my Google Drive. So if you click on the link, you can also download the handout. So I'll just have a quick sharing. So you can you see the shared screen maybe, or not? No, let me see. Let me just share screen again. Screen 2. Yeah. Okay, so I think you should also see the screen. Can you see the screen? It's kind of strange that there's no green. You know, I'm looking for that green window. Yeah, okay, good. So, so the first thing to get started, right, is to build a login to your Qualtrics account. So Qualtrics, for staff and students, right, you can actually go in to access Qualtrics from your My Monash platform. So if you go in, you click on the research and select Qualtrics, or alternatively, you can go into monash.qualtrics, but I think just go in by the My Monash Qualtrics. So just want everyone to sort of get into Qualtrics first. And then if you have done so, do a hands up, just to make sure that everyone gets the Qualtrics. So meanwhile, I'll just, yep, okay, good. Yep. So you can, you know, go and look at it while as I go through. So, you know, it'll be good if you have two monitors, but if not, you can always just switch monitors using the alternate tab function to switch windows, I mean. So besides, you know, the official of Qualtrics, you can also have the trial account, like a personal account on your own. You can just sign in with the trial version with your own personal email, but note that you cannot link between the two. So, I mean, I have that part in case if for students who, you know, finish their studies in Monash and, you know, if you still want to use it, you can always create a free account. That's a trial account. So let's go to the research. And then if you go into Qualtrics, so I'm sure people have gone into it already. So if you have created a survey before, you will see a list of different surveys at the start. But if you don't have, right, then you won't see the list. So you can see that I have a few surveys right now with my research students, and you can see an overall view of the survey name. So it's, these days they call it like a project. Yeah, create a new project. So maybe I could stop sharing my screen. And Gloria, do you want to share your screen very quickly with everyone? Yeah, the faculty link. Thanks, Rosie. So Gloria, do you want to share your screen very quickly? I'll show you what you sort of need to do. Thanks. Yep. So once you see this screen, right, you can just click create new project. So, you know, all the other icons are all the sort of enterprise kind of thing. So you can see that you'll be brought to this part where you need to create a new project. So a survey is a project. So create your own survey. Yep. So click on that. And then you can see from here below, there's a blank project. I type in the title of a project. Thanks. And then you can see at the bottom, there's a whole list of different things like blank project, from a copy, from a library, from a file. So you can, I haven't done the from a file, like, you know, maybe a Word document or something, but you can always create a copy of a previous survey that you've done. So in that way, you know, you might modify a particular survey. So perhaps you have a survey for teachers, and then you have a survey for students that you just modify, or teachers from another school that you only need to change a couple of items. So that is where you just copy the survey, you know, and use it. So now we just do from blank project. So select the first one, and let me see what's next. Yeah, get started. That's right. Thanks. So okay, so now what you see, right, is a list of I think I'll just use Gloria. Gloria will be the you know, demonstration. Okay, so right now you will see a set of different icons. I'll just get a remote control from Gloria. So we are now, yep. So right now I just want to introduce a couple of different things. So can you see my cursor? I think you should be able to see my cursor. So the mouse, so at the top left, you'll see the XM. So if you click on XM, the top left XM icon, which is this one. So if you click on this, right, you'll actually be taken back to the home screen. So right now, Gloria has created one survey called Wow, and that's it. So it's there's, you know, it's a new, there's only one item there, and so on. So that's where you click to go back to the main page. Okay, so if you click on a particular survey name, you'll be taken to that survey to edit it. Another thing to, I'm just introducing all the features in this screen. So besides XM, that takes you back to the home page, you will see that this is the title of the survey. So it's called Wow. So if you click on the down arrow, right, actually it will give you the list of all the surveys that you've created. So right now there's only one, so, you know, but if there are a few, then you can actually just change and edit different surveys just from this button. Okay, so that's the first 2 points to note. Next, you will see 2 sets of icons, okay, with like a menu, okay, 2 sets of menu information. So the first one is survey. You can see that actions, distribution, data analysis, and reports. So the first one is actually more to create and edit the survey. So if you click on each one, right, you will see a different set of icons that will appear. Okay, but this one, of course, we will get to this part later. But if you click on each one, you will see a different sort of sub-menu that will appear. And this sub-menu will be related to that, you know, the features of the first level icon. So here you will see look and feel, survey flow, options, tools. I'll go through a couple of them. So the first thing you need to know about creating or editing the survey is that actually you can edit, you know, the title just from here. So yeah, you can type in something, Gloria, change the title. So yeah, so if you want, you know, just change to whatever you want, and then you can click outside to sort of confirm the names. So now it's sort of renamed. So if you refresh the page, then you will see that this will be changed. Okay, but right now you've just changed the title of the survey. Yep. So that's okay. So that's the title. And then the next bit, right, you will see that this is the items. So from here onwards, you just create the items. I think for those of you who already have created a survey using using Qualtrics will know. So there are different question blocks that you can use, but this is not quite this is not yet the survey items. So this one is just block. So that's not quite there. So it will be possibly this one. So that would be the first one. This is just a question block where you can have different blocks. So like just now, I think is it Eric or somebody mentioned having different logic, right? So that's where you might have different question blocks. For me, I just use one block like default. So this is the question. You can see that the question 1, and you can actually change this. So if you change it to question 2, it will be, oh, okay. Explanation of survey before question 1? Yes, definitely. So thanks, Paul. So if, let's say this is your sort of items 2 and so on, let me just create a new item. So of course, in the first page of any survey research, your first page is actually the explanatory statement. So let's create an item before this and make it the explanatory statement. So in order to create a new item, you can see that there are plus and minus button. Minus means to delete that question. Plus means you insert a question above this question, okay? So I'll just click a plus here. So you will see that a new question is created. And actually this question is by default a multiple choice, but you can change the different type of question on the right-hand side button. So if you click on change the multiple choice, you can actually mouse over each question type and they will show you an example of the type of question that you might ask. Okay, so I think some of the common ones are listed here, like standards, you know. So static content, a descriptive text. So this is where you put in your explanatory statement. So if you click on and the multiple choice, change it to text graphic. And then here, I don't need to have anything. I mean, I can just call it the explanatory statement. You know, you can label whatever you want. So that's just the label for the questions. The participants won't see this because it's all grayed out. They won't see it. This is just for your own labeling purposes. Okay, so here, any questions so far? I've now created a text kind of question, the text graphic kind of questions. Any questions so far? If no, I will continue. Yep. Okay, good. So now let's say you notice that this is just text, right? What if you have bold and so on, you have your table. So how do you copy and paste your explanatory statement into here? So this is where if you click on this question text, you'll see that the few sort of text that comes up. So click on the rich content editor. So if you click on rich content editor, you will see something like, like this. There's a blank sort of text box, and you can see all the other formatting icons here. So this is where you can copy and paste your explanatory statement from your Word document to here. That could include tables and so on. So, so I could or you can just type in. So let's say if I put like explanatory, okay, etc. So whatever, I could also, make it bold, change it to centralized formatting, whatever. So you can also copy and paste from Word document. And you notice that there is no save button. So if you just want to, if you finish this, right, you just click on any of the gray out areas outside the window to confirm it. So you notice that, that's where whatever I've typed now appears as the question item. Okay, so excuse me. So that's the, that's the first part, this explanatory statement. So in the explanatory statement, usually what, you can also just click on the text and go back to it, okay? And if you go to any of the other kind of questions, you will notice that there are some other options that will appear. So let's say this is a multiple choice item. Do you like doing surveys? So you will know that maybe it's yes, no, it depends or whatever. So if you click on the options, you can just put yes, no, like this could be sometimes, it depends. Oops. Okay. So these are all the options. If you want to add options, you can just press enter, or you can use the formatting or settings on the right-hand side. So here you can edit multiple. So if you add a question choice, you can see that it will appear. If you press minus, to remove, so you can do this. And you can also have automatic choices. So if I click automatic choices, you will see that this is yes, no, maybe, but you can also choose all the other, it could be strongly agree to strongly disagree, it describes you or doesn't describe you. You can also choose to reverse the order. So for example, if let's say you want to strongly agree to strongly disagree, you can click it and you can have the reverse order. So it's from strongly disagree to strongly agree, the other way around. You can also have change it to 5-point scale. So instead of 7 points, so that's where you have automatic choices. You can have single or multiple answers. So the multiple means that they can choose more than one, right? So you could have options of, for example, I had a survey where I asked students what math subjects did they take. So, what VCE math subjects. So I have the different subjects and they can just choose the different ones. You can also have a drop-down box where you can change the options. So that's also another choice. Select, which is just selecting. So they could just click on one. But this option is, I think, is a bit confusing. I wouldn't recommend it. I'll recommend just use the first 2 or 3. And you can make the position vertical or horizontal. So that's where, you want to save space. So you could just have it horizontal. Or it could be column. So if you have a whole list of different subjects or whatever options, you could make it, go into 2 columns, for example. So these are the options that you can use for the particular item. So here is where I'll pause for like a few minutes for you to play around with the multiple choice. You can also try out different question types. So I would suggest maybe add one more question below this. You can change it to a different type and explore the different types. So for example, like a matrix table. So this is quite common in certain kind of survey where you have a whole lot of statements and you ask them to agree or disagree with the set of statements. Usually it's like an instrument or a scale that you use to measure something. You can also have text entry that you can play around with, or sliders. You can also play around with the others. I'll leave you to do that. And for each one, you always have a slightly different set of settings that you can also discover and explore. So I'll give you about 5 minutes. And meanwhile, if you have any questions, you can feel free to let me know. Okay, so 5 minutes. This is where you can pause the recording if you like. Yep, Gloria, you have the control back on your screen, so feel free to play around with it.
Possible, once you've built your survey in Qualtrics, to generate a PDF, a printable version of it?
Yes, you can actually export the survey.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So, okay, maybe I will just, Gloria, is it okay if you stop sharing the screen? I think I will share a particular sample survey that I've created. Okay, so let me just sort of share my screen. Oops, sorry. Okay, I will go back to sharing. So let's say I've created, a survey, maybe my first survey or whatever. So I'm assuming that you can see my sample survey. So right now, what I've shared so far, right, before I go on further, is the first few pages. So the first page is like creating a new survey. So it's called a new project. So this is where you had the screenshot. And I also talk about, type in the name of the survey. And I also introduce the menu options. What does that mean? And I also talk about the plus minus. So this is where you've gone through it. So I'm sharing this so that when you go back and look at the handout, you will sort of match it with what I've shared. So this will help you to remember, or when you review, when you use Qualtrics. Okay, so next, page 3, I've also talked about the multiple choice options. So when you create when you use a particular question type, right, the corresponding set of menu will appear on the right. So that's the settings. So I've also talked about this already. So I mentioned here, I want to just quickly say that that there is a validation options, which I don't really recommend unless it's absolutely necessary to get participants to answer that particular question. Okay, because if I think you may have done a survey before that every question requires validation, and then it gets quite frustrating. So that's why you actually do give participants the option of not doing a particular question unless that question is crucial for your study. So yep. So I mentioned this already, the kind of multiple choice questions, matrix tables, and so on. So I also mentioned about rich content editor to edit the question. So here is where I want to talk about, here is where I want to just quickly talk about inserting graphics. So you can see here that I've created a question that inserts some graphics You know, so you could, if you have a survey for kids, online surveys, or for kids that you want to have question option, or you want to include particular figures. So I remember there's a maths question that we sort of asked, so we sort of insert that question as a figure into the question itself, but you can also insert figures in the answers. So this is good for your own, I'll just quickly talk about it. So what you do, right, is if you want to insert any thing like here, so let's say I want to insert a question in a particular comment. So if I click on the comment itself, there's a down arrow, and you can, if you click on allow text entry, this is where you have options. Remember when we ask certain questions like somewhat, it depends, or others, please indicate. So this is where you can get the participants to type in the text. But you should not say please explain or whatever, because that they are only the open-ended text box, right, is only for that particular option. So it's linked to the option, which is like others, please indicate. So the rest, if they choose to type something here, means that this option is chosen. So if they choose to type something, oops, doesn't quite work here because we're in the settings. So if they type something here, it means that this option is selected. Then they can sort of type something in there. So if you want to change, remove the allow text entry, insert graphics, so you could have the insert graphics if you like, or go to the rich content editor. So in the rich content editor, you will have, you will have the text. So you can say that, dislike or something, whatever, and then you can insert a video or graphic. So you can actually choose a certain graphics to like a TPAC or whatever. So you could choose a particular option. You can edit this, the shape of it or the size of it by changing, double clicking and changing the width. So this is just a bit more sort of like a bit more advanced option where you can insert a picture and text. So yeah, so I'm just sharing this in case some of you might use this. Okay, so you can, okay, so you notice that I have page break. So next, I'll just quickly introduce a page break. So, at the end of your explanatory statement, you probably would have something to say that, okay, if you agree to participate in the survey, click next to start it. So that's where you need a new page so that when they click next, they will actually go into the survey proper. So in order to insert a page break, you just click on the question. And can you see on the right-hand side, there is a few different things. The first one is add page break. So if you click on that, you will add a page break. You can also move the page break to different places. I mean, using the arrow keys on the left, or you can just delete it to remove that particular page break option. So here, I would strongly suggest you to have the explanatory statement and then the page break. Okay, and then you can have, this wouldn't be other, of course, it will be, okay, yeah, here is where maybe I have to talk a bit about the certain options for gender. Let me just, yep. So I'll just quickly share this. So this was from the previous, one of my students, option. So we had this comment from the reviewer that says, we have new sort of gender inclusive options to that you have to, and guidelines. So how to capture, so it says that the most inclusive option is to provide open-ended space for people to write the gender, just like the name. So you could have, so they suggest to have the square box. That means they can tick more than one option. Oh, okay. Yeah. So they have more than one option, or they could have several different ones, you know. So maybe this is the one that you could add. So here, I'll just put in the link here, so you can just go and download the guidelines if you want to use that. Okay, so maybe I'll just change this to an open-ended text response, you know. So I'll just put text entry open-ended. So you notice that the text entry itself has the options of single line, multi-line, essay, text box, etc. So yeah, so I think you just need a single line for them to write. So it will be, what is your gender? So maybe I'll just change this. Okay, so that would be the option. So so maybe you want to give, you know, male, female, or is it man, woman, woman, man? Sorry, wrong. Yes, yeah. So for those of you who are into gender non-binary, oops. Okay, so yeah, so if you want, you can also type something like this. So here you can see that what I've done is, that's a short text entry. But if you want to ask a question where you expect them to write more, you know, to explain a bit more things, you could have a essay type text box, and you could also sort of extend the box yourself so that you can sort of roughly tell them that, hey, you can write more, you know. Okay, so it could also be a multi-line or single line. It's up to you, but you can also, even for a single line, I think, you know, you can't make it, you can only have one line. So if you want them to write more, do a multi-line, and you can just resize your text box. Okay.
Hazel, can I interrupt you for a second? It's about the images before we move on too much.
Yep.
My Qualtrics says there are no images in the library.
Yes. So then
your smileys are your images, or they were ready to use?
Now they are my images. So I'll just quickly, do you want me to show you? Let me see how I created the image. It's actually not too hard. I mean, like, I just use PowerPoint for that smiley. So what you do is, if you just use the PowerPoint, so I can just create an icon. So here is where I just draw a circle. So if you press Shift, it will be a circle. Otherwise, it's in, you know, you can just resize it. Press Shift, it will be a perfect circle. So, and then I can also just insert another 2 pictures. So it's not too hard. So I'll just do a circle fill, you know. So I can Control D to duplicate. So I have another eyes, and then I can just use a what do you call that? A curve kind of.
Cool.
So that's where.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, I usually do something like that. I just thought maybe you had a different version of Qualtrics that did it for you.
No, so you can just create your own picture. So once you have this, you can always copy and paste as a what do you call that? Like a screenshot.
Yes, so and then save as an image. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So so the new one that I discovered is the Windows icon, which is the four squares. If you look at your keyboard, there should be a icon with 4 squares. That's the Windows. So Windows plus Shift plus S. That means you press these 3 buttons together. So that's where you will get a blanked out, and you can just draw the box to copy the icon. So, you know, it's just it's a Windows snip and snip tool.
Yeah, I use the snipping tool. It's on my at the bottom. Yeah.
Yep, snipping tool. So whatever you want to use, so you can just quickly save this and then, you know, use that and insert it. So you will need to insert So let's say, let me just go back to the icon again. So I will go to the rich content editor. So here is where, if you don't have anything, right, you just click the upload a new graphic. So that's where you ask, you can find the image from your computer, and then you can then attach it. So
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Yeah, no worries. So just create your own image. Okay, or you just copy and snip from your Microsoft Word. Yeah. So another thing is that if you have a lot of thanks. So if you have a lot of statements, right? So let's say if you are doing some psychology or whatever, and you have a whole lot of statements, you realize that it's just too long for the participants to read, and they may confuse the lines. So this is where I will use repeat headers option on the right. Repeat headers. So you notice that this is repeated. The headers are repeated so that it's, every 6 or 5 options, you will see that the headers are repeated so that they don't get confused and missed out a line or so. Yeah. No, I'm not doing this one. You can add white space. You can repeat the headers at the bottom, at the middle, at the top, or both, or all. So if, oh no, I don't want all, it's just too confusing. So both. So I will have repeat the headers at the top, in the middle, and at the bottom, just to, so that people are not confused. So these are the options that I think it will be useful for you. Okay. And the metrics like type or bipolar, etc., rank order, and things like that. So you could explore other options. You could change the scale points. So the automatic scale points, oops, sorry, I've recorded some options there. So yeah, so you can change the automatic scale point to like, dislike, etc. Yeah, the other thing I want to sort of highlight is the recoding. So just now, I think Aaron mentioned about the recoding. So here is where, for example, let's say if you create a multiple choice question and you want to recode the answers. So maybe, I enjoy doing maths, let's say. Okay, or something like that. So let's say you have a multiple choice and it is a strongly agree to strongly disagree for 5 points. So here is where you notice that the strongly agree appear first, because usually we want something positive, right? So strongly agree will appear first, but when you actually download the survey, you will be coded as 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the options. So it will go according to your the order which the options appear. So normally this is coded as 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5. So if let's say I want to recode this, so I want strongly agree to be 5. So it is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now Qualtrics can do it for you. You can just click on the advanced question options. There is a scoring or recode values. You can click recode the values. So this is where recode. So this will be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, So you can just recode it. Recode the values and then you can close. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So if you, like normally in the past, what you do is just download everything and then you can use SPSS or Excel to do the recoding, because that's what I did when I did my PhD like a long time ago. So it's extra steps. So now Qualtrics actually has this option. So you could recode that values. So it could be so you can click the recode values and do the recoding. So if you look at the scoring, right, it will take you to the scoring for the entire entire survey. So this is how, what is your gender? So it could be auto kind of thing. And here the numbers is automatic. So auto means that it's automatically coded, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 according to the options. So they say hold Alt key to reverse code. So that's, if I click it, it will appear, something appeared. So this is like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you can see instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is all reverse code. So I could clear it. So if you mouse over, they'll give you the instructions. Okay, I don't know who gave this. It's quite interesting. Yep, okay. No worries, thanks, Sharon. So you can see from here, and that's how it's coded. 1, 2, 3, that's the auto. That's also automatically coded. So I go back to editor. All right, so the option is, as I mentioned, you can see the icon here. This question has recoded value, so that's how it goes. All right, so we've gone through so far the insert picture. That's in page 4 of the handout. Yep, I also talk about the allow text entry, mentioned that already. So as you can see, there are so many other options. It's up to you to explore what they are and try things out. So I'll also talk about the I also talk about the display logic, or the add page break, copy, move question, display logic. So the display logic is to display the question if the person answers another question in a certain way. So you can also look at some details in the support page. So Qualtrics itself has some support, like a community kind of support. So you could go and take a look at it to see how to do the logic. And the most recent one, right, is actually that you can actually choose to display certain logic in the same page. Because in the past, right, what it does is in the next page. So when somebody answered the question in a certain way, and they click next, right, then information will go into Qualtrics, and the Qualtrics will generate the next page with, with the sort of relevant questions that you want to ask. I mean, based on how they answer the questions in the previous page. But now, right, this is even more advanced. That means within the same page, if let's say they answer in a certain way, some of the questions are hidden, and then others will be revealed all in the same page. So you need to select this in-page display logic. Okay, so I'll just do a quick demonstration because I think time is also limited. So let's say I want to choose to show this picture, maybe choose, this one. So you notice that here, if I need to display this question if, if let's say they indicate your preference, like a great deal is selected, or if for this particular movie types, they choose like somewhat, then they will display this. If you like sci-fi movies, which of the following do you like most, or something like that. So you could actually do a display kind of logic. So what you do here, in order to make it a display logic, okay, I'll just remove this. So is to click on that question that you want to be displayed or hidden, add display logic. And then here you will say display this question only if the following condition is met. So you might want to choose, okay, this is that question. And follow, or maybe for this particular question, they choose like a great deal or something is selected. Plus means additional condition, and for this question, something else is, or another question. So you could also combine different answers for different questions and then choose to display this. So I use this in my other survey, in one of my surveys. So when students say that they take mathematical methods, for example, and they didn't take specialist maths, then you will choose to display these questions, and I'll ask them, okay, why do you choose to take methods and why not, specialist maths and so on. So I could display particular questions when certain items are selected or not selected. So you could also have that as option. Okay, any questions? Oh, yep, Sarika was asking about better to record it or the auto option. So in most cases, right, in most cases, it will be auto code. You just leave it because the first option will be by default coded as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. So only in certain other options where you know that you want to recode it. So for example, like the strongly agree is 5, strongly disagree is 1. So then you recode. Yep, Anne was asking, can you recode questions in the survey with 400? I think it's going to be hard because you're going to mark up your coding, because I think whatever that's recorded previously will be, it's already there. So I think I don't advise you to try out when you already have some responses. So what you do is you could copy that survey to a new one, recode the new one, and sort of when you collect more data, use that new link to collect more data. And then the old one you can just download and recode in SPSS, because SPSS or Excel has the recoding function. So since you already have 400 surveys, you don't want to, muck around and risk losing them. So yeah, the worst is that if everything is all confused, then you have to try and sort things out. So I wouldn't recommend you to edit your current active survey. Oops. All right, so that's what I have currently. Let me just go to the next bit. So next one, because we only have a short time, I'll talk about previewing the survey, distributing the survey, and some simple analysis with the survey. So we're now halfway through that page 6. So you have the preview survey. So you just need to take note that the grade question numbers are not shown in the actual survey. So they are just for you to reference, edit, collaboration, So when the questions are removed, the question numbers stay with them. You can always rename the questions like what I've showed you earlier. You can also remove the question number for thank you if you choose to show question numbers. So you can have option to, you can have options to show that question number in the survey option. So I have the link there for you to look at. So Gloria's asked whether there are other analysis. So you can do some beginning analysis or simple analysis in Qualtrics itself, which I will show quickly later. But if you want to do more advanced stuff, I will recommend you to download it, export it as Excel or SPSS. Excuse me. So next, I just want to quickly talk about the look and feel of the survey to improve how it looks like. Okay, so if you go back to the top of your survey, you will notice that there's a look and feel and survey options. So the first part, if you click on look and feel, right, you will see that it will look slightly different from what I have here. I think it's just arrow, or something like that. So I think arrow is not as nice. I do like next with the arrow and then back with the other, less than button. So you can click next, and this must match what you said. So here in my explanatory statement, I have click next to start survey. So this should match the next. So if you choose to use the default, then then you just put the default one here. And there's a progress bar, so you can choose to show progress bar like as a line and so on. But notice, I think it depends on the number of pages, so it may not be that accurate, but some people like to still show it, or you can choose to show questions per page. I just want to also highlight, this is in the general option. If you click on the theme, right, you will see several themes that is by our uni. So if you click on the first one, you will see this is how it looks like. Click next to start survey, so the option looks different. If you click on the black one, you will see that, okay, this is how it looks like, you know. So there are some themes that you can use. There are also some static themes. So like this one, it looks cleaner. I kind of like this option. So if you click next, you can actually see how it looks like. The font also looks, you know, this one, I kind of like this particular theme. So, but it's up to you to choose which ones, you know, that's existing, but it's all with the Monash logo preset. So I'll just encourage you to use that. Okay, you can choose to look at other options, you know, and see what they are. But once you choose one, I think that's okay. So the only thing you need to change is the theme, to select the theme that you want and include the back and next button. And then click save. So that's the look and feel. Sorry if I tend to go a bit faster now. Next bit is the survey option. Okay, so in the survey option, right, by default, the back button is not enabled. So you need to click on this so that you can then enable the respondents to go back and change their option to the previous page, just in case anything. But sometimes for certain survey, you don't want to have the back option, but you need to tell your participants that there's no back option so that, you know, they will answer a question and move on. And it's also not available across certain branches. Save and continue, I won't recommend that. Show question number, this is where if you want to show that question number, you know, you can tick this. Okay, the other thing that I want to sort of highlight is the redirect. That means at the end of the survey, right, what do? Do you show the summary? That could be an option, or custom end of survey message, or default one. So here is where I want to highlight. So for example, let's say if you have done a hard copy survey, okay, and you have a stack of, let's say, 400 responses, or maybe 100 over. This is what happened to my in my PhD. So instead of recording the survey responses into Excel, because, you know, Excel, the rows are quite close together, it's very easy to make a human error of, you know, having a different, accidentally keying in something into a different column or a different row. So what I did was actually I translate the hard copy survey to the Qualtrics, and then I pretend that I'm the survey. I'm the survey participants. I'll just take one hard copy survey, and then I'll pretend I'm the participants, and then I'll answer the online survey for them. So in that way, right, it's actually more accurate in terms of keying in the data rather than putting in the spreadsheet. And then later on, I'll just export this. So in order to do that quickly, right, I discovered this option. So at the end of the when you submit, you know, the survey at the end, you can actually choose to redirect them back to the survey itself. So here is where you, after you click distribute the survey, you'll be given a link to the survey. So if you put the link here, it means that after you finish submitting, right, you will refresh with the new survey, sort of like a new survey, okay, a new response. So it's also good for if you do a street survey. So if you have an RA, you know, research assistant to go to the street to survey people, they could use the iPad or something to answer the questions. And then if you submit, you will refresh with a new page, a new survey page, and then you can actually quickly give it to another person to answer the survey. So that's a good one. So yeah, so that's where you put this redirect to a URL. So I can just save that. Okay, so I've talked about the survey options already. The tools is where you can export. So you can export the survey to Word actually, and you can submit that to the ethics, or you can export it as PDF. It's up to you what you want to do. You can also choose to review. I think the most recent thing that I learned from my student is translate survey. So I had a Chinese student who translated the Qualtrics survey into Chinese and gave it to his participants in Chinese. So you can translate into Spanish, for example, or other languages. So I thought that was quite interesting. So after translating, you can still edit a little bit of the wording in case, the translation is not accurate. So so that's it. Next bit is distribution. So once you finish your survey, you can distribute the survey. So if you click distribute the survey, there will be a link. I mean, there's a different icon, it's not this one. So you will be given translation relatively, I think. Yeah. So of course, I don't think there's 100% accurate translation at the moment. You might still need to make some changes yourself. Yep. So I would suggest anonymous link. So if you click on anonymous link, you will be taken, you'll be provided a link to the survey. So if you want to customize the link, then it will be like, please do my survey or something like that. So this is where you can just copy this and paste it into your email or whatever. So the actual link is hidden. So it's just a hyperlink, and you can see the HTML code is there. So this is, but I would suggest using something else like bit.ly or tinyURL. So I would suggest this to make the URL tiny. So instead of this big, this such a long file, you might actually use a tinyURL, shorten it. Okay, so this is where it becomes this short. So I can then put it into PowerPoint and share it with my participants, or print it out on hard copy. They can then type this in quickly and do the survey. Okay, so here's where I put the tinyURL in the link, in the chat link. So yeah, you can also do email or some others, parts or offline. I haven't tried all the others like social media, but you can, give it a try. You can also pause the response collection. So this is where you, pause, close all the survey or allow active survey sessions to be finished. So that's where you pause it. You might want to, it's same as closing the survey, basically, because there's no close survey button, it's just pause. So right now I want you to quickly go into that tinyURL and pretend that you are participants. Just randomly select some answers, because I need to talk about the data analysis bit. So I need to capture some data. So please just use the link and, record some data. So I'm just putting in certain things. I mean, it's just a sample survey, so I'm not, I'm just clicking in some options. So you can see that the last recording or samples, just pretend to record something.
Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
Hazel, I can't
Yes.
enter my answers. I could type woman, but I couldn't choose any of the movies types. I'm not sure if it's just me.
Okay, let me just go in and pretend to be okay. And then, yeah, you're right. That's strange. What about this one? No, okay, actually it means, okay, let me just go back to the options and adjust it. I think most likely it's because of the theme. maybe I didn't choose the right thing.
Yeah, the rest of the questions are fine.
Okay, so maybe it's just that option. I think this one, perhaps I have done something previously with this. Okay, so maybe I'll just use the statement to be 6 statement. Okay. It is mobile friendly, non-false response. Should be okay. Could be because I didn't write in the other options. Okay, let's preview it again. You can preview the survey by clicking the preview. Let me just go and check. Yep, just fill in whatever you have. You can preview the survey, test it out before, Yep, now I think I can do it now. I think it could be because that I didn't complete the options earlier. So, so now if you click on a particular option, you should be able to record that response. Okay. Yep. All right. So it should be all right now. Just go back to it. Okay. Hey, no, it didn't work. Strange. Just ignore that question and choose something else, maybe. Yeah. Okay. And then it's redirected to fill in the bits because I've chosen to redirect back to the survey. So after you finish submitting, you will see the survey refreshed itself again automatically. So, okay, so let's just go to the data analysis because I think time is tight. We only have another 15 minutes. So, so if you click on data analysis, you should see the data will appear. Okay, so I can see that there are 16 responses, that's being recorded, and they will re-index for reading. And you can also add filter. You can see that there's a text, cross-tab and weighting. So I think the cross-tab is another one that I've tried that I can share. Not sure about the text analysis. So you can also manage the filter. So maybe when you answer particular, maybe sci-fi is like a great deal. So you can then filter the responses to see particular, responses where people say that it is, they liked it. Great deal. Or you can then, okay, so now it's been indexed. So what you can see is that some responses, they are recorded, the date and the time, and some answers. So you can choose to review certain answers, like click plus, and then you can add the questions, so that you can see at a glance the answers to the question that you find most important or you want to look at. So for each of these items, right, you can click on actions on the right-hand side. So you can view the response. So when you view the response, you will see the response for that particular participant. Okay, all the responses. You can delete it because for particular, responses with nothing, so you know that this person didn't answer anything, it's just empty sort of recording, you can choose to delete that response. You can also export to PDF. Retake, I don't think you want to do that. So you can view the response, so I can see how Anna answered those items. And you can see that actually it's recorded. Some of the responses are recorded. And there's even some geo information that you can look at as well. So you can click next to look at other people's survey. So that's how it sort of looks like. Okay, so so that's the data part. So you can add a filter, you can choose, to look at certain responses, or you can also look at cross-tabs. So in the cross-tab, oh, they have some updates. So like the pivot table, improve Excel, export formatting, and so on. So you can take a tour if you want, or you can skip it. So you can then create your own crosstab. So they'll tell you what to do. The variable list contains your survey questions. So maybe I want the, maybe some results, drag this. Okay, and then maybe have a total count and so on, continue. So then you can have I am something and drag the response and do a crosstab. Sorry, I think you need to have the count, and you need to probably look at combination of different things. So if the gender is like a few options instead of open-ended question, then you can do some more analysis. But as it is currently, you can't really analyze a short answer and do a crosstab, because a crosstab is a statistical, quantitative kind of analysis. So you can then count how they answer one question with the other question. So sometimes short, so that's why when you design your survey questions, right, it's very important to know what type of questions that you are, the kind of response that you have, because that will affect the kind of results. So just now, like I said, if your gender is not options like like you can code because it is a short answer, then you can't do the comparison in Qualtrics itself. You probably have to export your responses and then go and look at the gender part, recode it like based on what they say. Like if they say it's men, then you code it as 1, or woman is 2, example. Then you can then do further analysis. So here is where you can then do a crosstab, and you can also, I think you can probably do like a chi-square kind of thing from here. You can of course just export your whole data. So I will just go back to your data.
Sorry, Hazel,
Yes.
can I just ask, sorry, I have to go, I have a class. Just
Yeah.
Can I just ask before leaving? So since you're talking about data analysis and to do more complex quantitative, relationships or things like that, would you recommend SPSS or any other software?
Yeah. So here is, if you click on the data, right, you can export the data. So if you export data, right, they'll give you the different options. So you can export as an Excel file. Okay. So I will recommend you to export both as Excel and SPSS. I'm not sure what are the options in Google Drive. Maybe it's a spreadsheet or something. But only so far I've been using like CSV, because in the past they didn't have Excel. So now that they have Excel, you can then choose to download all the fields. You can use the choice text or numeric values. So I'll recommend you to try out both, because then you know that which number corresponds to which choice. So, but if you've done your recoding correctly, then you will know that 5 is for strongly disagree. 5 is strongly agree, and then 4 is agree, etc. So then you download as numeric values is okay, but I would still suggest you to try the choice text so that you can double check that the coding is correct. Okay. Then you download Excel, you can analyze in Excel. You can also choose SPSS, then you can just download the SPSS format. Okay. Yeah, so if you look at the options, not much, it's just a string width, and then you compress the data as zip. Yep, this one, it's about the same. But it's quite interesting. There's a recode seen but unanswered question is -99. So it depends on how you analyze the data. So that's where, the additional options that you want to use. So, so if you click download, then you'll be able to download that. And then when you click, you will try and sort of export it, and then you can then, download that information. Okay, I'll just also quickly talk a bit about the reports. So in reports, right, you will see that actually it looks like there's a graph type of thing. So they'll give you, if you click on each option, they'll give you some sort of graph. So this is where you can also do some simple sort of analysis. So you can look at the percentages of, for each option, how many said yes or no, like a great deal, somewhat, etc. And the total responses for each of the statements and so on. So this is where you can adjust. So here you can see that for each of the options, how many said, like a great deal for sci-fi and so on. So it's one way of combining the answers for the metrics. You can also make changes because you may not want to have this sort of graph. You might want to have a table instead. You might want to have a line chart, etc. So it's up to you to check out the different options for visualization. So maybe a breakdown bar might help. Okay, that's interesting. So, and then you can say that the labels can be the name, can be the percentages, response count, how many people actually say this and that. You can have the categories, names, etc. So again, all the options are on the right-hand side. You can even change the colors. So, and also remove that visualization. So again, there are a lot of options that you can do to show the results, and that will also help you to see and report your survey findings. Okay, so yeah, so you can have a play with this as well. Once you collected your data, you can actually play around with the reports. You can share your reports as a PDF, download, as PowerPoint slide, etc., or even make it public. But of course, we don't, because it's our data after all for research. So that's where you can share your report. Yep, and you can look at the response count, etc. One last thing I want to sort of share before I let you play around and maybe answer some of your questions is to share your survey. So you know how we always have a group, whether your PhD students share the survey with you, or you share your survey with the collaborators for your research project, you always need to sort of, collaborate with others. So that's where you can click collaborate. So this is where you type in. So maybe if I want to share this survey with Mandy, so I will type in the name and then you can see that, okay, it's here. I can then add, and I can email Mandy with the message to say, okay, hey, I've shared this survey with you. And then you click OK, it will be shared. Okay, oops, maybe I should just click, or maybe Sharon. Okay. So if I type Sharon, the name will appear. Okay. Should appear. Or did I type the name wrongly? Wait a minute. Welcome. Okay. Then, if not, then I can always click on an email. Let me just. A-B-U-R-N. Okay. So I could type an email, and perhaps I will share. Hopefully I've got the name correctly, and then it will be, customized.
My name is correct.
It's correct,
Here
right?
I am. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, so you will see that there's an option there, whether you can edit or view the reports, you can activate or deactivate the survey, you can make a copy of the survey, or you can distribute the survey. So once you, give the particular rights to the person to collaborate with you, you can just click save and then you'll be added. So now Sharon is able to, when you go into your Qualtrics, you'll be able to see this particular survey appear and you can look at it, you can edit it, you can distribute it, and so on. So that's how, that's how it works. Yeah. So any other questions? I think so far I've covered the remaining parts of the handout, so you can also go back and refresh and look at what I had in the handout. I talk about previewing the survey, distributing the survey, getting the link, data analysis. So that's where I also talk about the Excel choice text, what I recommend, and more options. Oh yeah, the more options bits is to select split multi-value fields into column. So if you have multiple answers to the multiple choice questions, then you need to click this option so that, you know, yeah, it'll be split and so on. View response. I also talk about the report. I also give you some examples. Choose the percentages, collaborate with others, to your supervisor, colleagues, you know. So you can also collaborate through the home page tab as well. So the last part is how to find more references. So if you have questions, right, you can actually look for the support there. And yeah, and there are also online courses on research methodologies if you have any questions with that. Yep, so we also have Qualtrics support for university. So there's a link there on Qualtrics. So I know there used to be this person, yeah. Designing quality questions. Oh, okay. So I think we have I know there's a Moodle unit that we've done before for PhD students on designing surveys, designing survey items. So I could send you that link that you can self-enroll and go through the options. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure whether the are there any other sort of any other workshops on designing good survey questions. You know. Okay, let me just check out the. Okay, I'll just stay on for a little bit. I'll just put the link to the designing survey. Come on, I can't find it.
Does anyone else have any other questions that they'd like to ask Hazel that we might not have covered yet?
No, I think we are ready to move to the data analysis. Leonie, you are muted.
Nope, we can't hear you as well. So Sharon, you have the host. You can click on the top of Leonie's.
All right.
And then there's an unmute.
Let me find her. Where's she gone?
Sorry, I just said Hazel. That was great. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Leonie. Yep. So yeah, so data. Basically, if you want to design good survey questions, you can look up some resources from the library about designing survey questions and research. So, you know, yeah, there are some resources there. So maybe I can recommend something.
I'm going to send the slides around. So if there's any sort of resources that you want to put some links for, we can put that into the email if you like, Hazel.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, sure. Let me see if it's an online link. So it's surveys in social research. That's the one that I use. So I'll just quickly share this as well. So if you click Surveys in Social Research by David DeVos, so there's an online access version. There's also a hard copy version that you can look at. So this is the one that I use. Let me just, that I use for my students. Okay, I will put in the link into the chat as well so that you can, you know, you can also log in and take a look at it. So this one includes different things about like designing surveys, the scope of survey research, setting up the data for analysis and so on. So I think it's quite a good one. Yep. So the other one that I strongly recommend if you want to talk about analyzing is the SPSS Survival Manual by Julie Palett. Yep. So we can have a look at. So she also conducts some courses. I think she's, I can't remember which university, one of the Australian ones, maybe Sydney. So you can have a look at her SPSS Survival Manual. It's now up to many versions already. So yeah, I think this is the latest on version 6. Yep. Yep. So yeah, if there's a need, I can also do something on SPSS, another workshop if people want, but more basic ones if there's a need. And also maybe you can also find out from others. I think SPSS is used a lot in, say, psychology or psychological sort of educational psychology research as well. So I find hers is her book is quite useful. So for analysis. Okay, I think that's it.
Okay, thank you so much
Thanks,
for this workshop, Hazel. It's been terrific. I've certainly learnt a lot today, having never looked at Qualtrics before. And I'm sure everyone else has found it extremely beneficial too. So I'll send around the various chat links that there's been and a copy of the recording. But if anyone's got any questions, I'm sure Hazel wouldn't mind you emailing her with any questions that you might have. So
yeah,
everyone for joining.
Yep, thanks very much to everyone. And I am happy to get some email if you like, if you have